Nikon Z cameras give you a variety of ways to organize your photos in the camera with things like custom naming, custom folders, and different saving options if you have multiple card slots. Now, this can either really overcomplicate your workflow or it can simplify things for you depending on what you're doing with your camera. So I want to go over some of those in this video so that you can figure out a system that works best for you. I want to start by looking at the in-camera folder organization. When you pull out your memory card and pop it into your computer, you'll notice that your folders have a 3-digit prefix followed by a 5-character suffix. All of these are customizable. The 3-digit prefix, you can set any number that you want for those. Then the 5-character suffix, you can also customize which letters and numbers you want there. Now, this might get you really excited about all of the different ways that you can have custom folders on your camera. I would caution you, however, that this can become an administrative task that just consumes more time for your workflow, and if you're not disciplined about keeping up with it, you could end up with photos in folders to which they don't belong. But there are some times where you may want to create a custom folder. For hobbyists or general photographers, let's say you're taking a trip to Africa and you want all of your Africa photos organized in their own folders by day. So you have one folder for your first day of the trip, another folder for your second day of the trip, and so on. And this can make organization and playback and image review a lot easier for you. And then professional photographers, you may want to sort photos, like if you're doing an event, by different parts of the event. So like if you're doing a wedding, you might want a folder for the ceremony, one folder for the reception, and so on. And so you can set all of this up ahead of time before your shoot, and then during the shoot, either at the beginning of a new day on your trip to Africa or during transitions from one part of an event to another, you can just quickly go into your camera menu and select the new appropriate folder. So this is how you can set that up. You're going to go into the photo shooting menu and then look for storage folder. You'll see 3 different options in there: rename, select folder by number, and select folder from list. So let's keep going with our Africa example. Before you even leave home, you can go into rename and use the keypad to choose a new 5-character suffix for your folders. This suffix will be added to all new folders, not existing folders. So if you're getting ready for your Africa trip, you could type in AFRIC. And now all new folders are going to have that 3-digit prefix followed by AFRIC. So you know that all of those photos are part of your Africa trip. And then you can go into select folder by number and create new numbered folders with the arrows and press OK every time you want to create a new folder with a new number. Now, if you do nothing else, you select a new number, you press OK, and now you've created that new numbered folder. All new photos are going to be recorded into that folder, but you can go back and select a folder that you've already created. You can do that here in the Select Folder by Number submenu, using the arrows to select numbers for folders that you have previously created. You'll see a little folder icon next to the name to show you if that folder is partially filled or completely filled. Right now is a good time to say that each folder can only contain 5,000 images. So once each folder hits 5,000 images, a new numbered folder, a new sequential folder, will be automatically created. New folders will also be created if the image sequence number, which we'll talk about in a little bit, reaches 9,999. I find the easiest way to select a previously created folder is to go into Select Folder from List. You'll be presented with a list of all of your folders, and you can highlight a folder and press the zoom out button, that's the instructions on the bottom of the screen, to view all of the photos in that folder. You highlight the folder that you want all photos to be recorded to and press OK. So those are custom folders. Again, if you're on a trip and you want to organize your trip, or you're doing some kind of event photography and want to organize it by event, time-lapse photography too. If you're doing time lapses, you'll want all of your photos from each sequence in a new folder. But if you use the built-in time-lapse function, the camera can actually automatically create a new folder for every time-lapse sequence. Now let's talk about file naming, which is also found in the photo shooting menu. This refers to the 3-character prefix that you'll see before the 4-digit sequence number for every single photo. By default, that prefix in Nikon Z cameras is DSC. Photos in the sRGB color space or HLG photos have the underscore after the prefix, while Adobe RGB photos have the underscore before the prefix. But that's what you see when you open up a folder on your computer, are DSC 0001, 0002, and so on. You can change that 3-character prefix, but again, there's really only one good use case for this, and that's if you have multiple cameras. When I'm doing documentary photography, I carry 2 ZFs, each with different lenses. One might have a wide zoom and the other a standard zoom, or a standard zoom and a telephoto zoom, depending on what I'm photographing. But when I get back home and I offload all of those photos onto my computer into a single folder, if I didn't rename those, I might end up with duplicate files. I'm going to have a DSC 0001 from one camera, and I'm also going to have a DSC 0001 from the other camera, and that's going to create a conflict within my computer operating system. I want all of those photos in one folder for my culling process. I don't want to have to go through separate folders for each camera when I'm culling, and I'm not quite ready to rename just yet. And so what I did is I renamed the file naming for one of these cameras ZF1, and then the other camera is ZF2. And now when I dump all of those photos into my one folder on the computer before I start culling, there are no file naming conflicts. I can then go through all of those photos in a chronological order, looking at different photos from each camera in that chronological sequence. And during my editing process, once they're already there, then I can rename them as part of my workflow. If you're doing a wedding and there are multiple photographers with multiple cameras, you'll want to make sure that each one has a different file naming structure so that once you collect all of the memory cards at the end of the event, you again don't have any kind of file naming conflicts. So in that file naming menu, you just use the keypad to choose the 3 new characters that you want for your prefix for all subsequent photos. If you're just a single camera shooter, a hobbyist general photographer, I'd really recommend just leaving this alone. You can always rename your files later using Lightroom or Capture One or Photo Mechanic or whatever post-processing software you use. Speaking of the file names, there is another related setting. That's the file number sequence found in the Custom Settings D group. And this will tell the camera whether or not you want it to reset that sequence number to 0001 whenever you start a new folder or insert a new memory card. If this is on, that image sequence number will continue from the last one when you start a new folder or go to a new memory card. So if the last photo in the last memory card was DSC 1022, and then you insert a new memory card, the next photo will be DSC 1023. If this is off, then the next image will restart with 0001. Or you can do a manual reset by selecting Reset. Personally, I like to leave this on. I think it simplifies organization so that I don't end up with multiple files named ZF10001 on the same memory card if I'm using different folders or if I'm using multiple memory cards. Letting those sequence numbers just continuously run for every shoot or outing that I do really helps simplify that organization. A lot of you have cameras with multiple card slots. So let's look at how you write different file formats to each memory card. Now, first, I just want to start off by saying that this appears differently in the menus in different cameras. You may see role played by card in slot 2, like in the Z5 and the Z9, or you may see primary slot selection and secondary slot function, where you select which card is considered the primary card, and then the other card is automatically going to be the secondary card, and you can choose which function you want for that secondary card. And that's the same as if you have a menu option called Role Played by Card in Slot 2. You have a lot of options here, and the first one is overflow. So all of the files that you're recording, whether that's just the RAW file or a RAW file and a JPEG file, those are all going to be recorded to the primary card, the first card, and only that card. Once that card fills up, then all subsequent photos will be recorded to the secondary card, the one you've identified as the secondary if you have that option. I'd recommend this for most general hobbyist photographers. Memory cards are becoming very reliable these days. I personally have never had a memory card fail, so when I'm just doing personal work, I'm totally fine leaving this in the overflow function. However, if you're doing commissioned work, paid work, where you actually have money or your reputation on the line, then I'd recommend selecting the backup option. Again, I've never had a card fail on me, but that's not to say that it will never happen in the future. So when you choose backup, that means that all of the files that you're recording will be recorded to both the primary and the secondary slots. So at the end of the day, those two cards will be more or less clones of one another. If something happens to one card, you still have an identical backup on the other. The last two options that you'll see in here are a little more confusing. RAW primary, JPEG secondary, or JPEG primary, JPEG secondary. If you are recording both the RAW file format and the JPEG file format, you'll see this option where you can send all of your RAW files to the primary card and then all of your JPEG files to the secondary card. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, again, if you're doing some kind of event or wedding photography and somebody needs to quickly pull some photos to post on social media, or if you're a photojournalist and you need to get some photos off to your editor right now, you can pull out the secondary card, just your JPEG photos that are ready to send, while you can still keep shooting and have all of your RAW files recorded to that primary card. Whoever needs to pull those JPEG files off of that memory card doesn't have to deal with the slowdown and the multiple files that are going to happen if both RAW and JPEG are on one single card. You can just keep all JPEGs on one. Same kind of thought process applies to the other option there, JPEG primary, JPEG secondary. If you're only recording JPEG, then whatever JPEG quality and size that you've selected in the photo shooting menu, those are going to be recorded to the primary card. The secondary card is going to have a lower quality and smaller size JPEG file than the primary card. These are going to be recorded with the basic quality, and if you press the multi-selector right here, you can choose which size that you want those JPEG files to be recorded on that secondary card. And this again is kind of like a holdover from the wire service days where if photojournalists or event photographers needed to quickly send files to somebody, an editor or social media manager, you could get those smaller, lower quality files off of that secondary card and keep shooting to the primary. One little note here, if you are recording the HLG format instead of the SDR format, so you're getting HEIF files, then that JPEG will be replaced by HEIF. I do want to mention a couple of other options that are found in the setup menu, and the first is the copyright info. I'd recommend everyone go in here and enter your personal or your company name attached to the creator and the copyright metadata fields, and then attach this information to every photo. You can just set this once and forget it. There are two other options here in most cameras that you may be tempted to do, but again, it requires a lot of discipline to keep up with. And that's image comment, where you can attach a 36-character comment to every photo. That'll be saved to the metadata description comment field. And then there's the IPTC field in the newer cameras, where you can attach additional metadata to your photos that you can create in the Nikon IPTC preset manager. So you can create different IPTC files that save things like a headline, an event ID, a caption, location info, and so on. You can store 10 presets that have these different settings and then just call them up whenever you want to use a new set of metadata. But like with the comment, this is something that you really need to be disciplined with keeping up with if you really want to use it. It's much better to have no metadata at all than to have incorrect metadata attached to an image. But if you are doing like photojournalism or you work for a wire service, then you may want to have this metadata attached to every single photo, since you're probably just going to be sending off memory cards and you're not going to have time to add this information on post-processing software like Lightroom Classic or Photo Mechanic. But if you do use those programs to add metadata, I would just recommend doing it in your post-processing workflow rather than trying to keep up with it in real time in the camera. So to recap, unless you have multiple cameras or you do multiple jobs that you revisit over and over, the file naming and the custom folders are probably something that's best left set to the defaults for most photographers. But if you have a camera that has multiple card slots, that's a decision that you may want to put a little more thought into. If you want a full walkthrough on all of the Nikon menu setup, all the different focus and exposure systems and different ways to customize your camera, you can check out my Nikon Z Photography Fundamentals course at photocourses.link/NikonZ and use the code TUBE20 for 20% off that course. If you have any other questions or comments on the in-camera organization system, please let me know below. Subscribe for more great tips like this every week, and I hope to see you in the next video.